Alrighty. Well, first off, thank you all for being here. This is a special moment, the 15th annual Canada Strong and Free Networking Conference. We are very happy to bring together the conservative movement from across the country once again. And this is, of course, such an important time in Canadian history for us to be having the conversations we will have over the next couple of days. I'd like to start off by thanking our sponsors. Throughout the next couple of days, you'll see the logos of our sponsors, different signage. You'll see it on our slideshows. And I just ask that you take note of the companies that make an event like this possible. You know, we live at a time where not every company supports Canadians across the political spectrum. And the companies that do, I think, not only deserve to be recognized for it, but I would ask you, as you make decisions as a consumer about the goods and services that you purchase, that you keep in mind the kind folks that make our event possible. Thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge our exhibitors who have booths set up outside of our doors here in the hallway, and ask that you pay a visit to them. A lot of very passionate Canadians working very hard on a wide range of issues, and I think they'd appreciate getting to know you. We'd also like to acknowledge our volunteers who give us the people power to make this conference possible, so I'd like to give them a round of applause as well, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. Now, before we get the show on the road, I have a question to answer, all right? So earlier this week, we got a question from a member of the media, and it was not, for the record, to be clear, it was not CTV News who gave us the question. In fact, CTV News didn't show up to cover our event. Every other major media outlet in the country is here. CTV is unaccredited. One can only speculate as to why that is, and I'll leave that for you to think about. But, but we do have some very talented members of the media here today, and one of them asked a question, and they asked us if we believe the conservative movement is moving away from being a big tent movement and is now focused only on conservative principles. Now, you can laugh at the question, but it's a question a lot of people probably would ask, so I think it's worth answering. And that's why I want to answer it now, which is that for the Canada Strong and Free Network, and hopefully all of you in the room today, we believe both of those things can happen at the same time. Right. Yeah. We believe that we can build a big tent movement that is welcoming to as many Canadians as possible, while also being true to the principles that make conservatives conservative. And I would actually articulate it as the conservative principles are the tent poles that actually hold up the big tent in the first place. And if you take those tent poles away, then you've got nothing. So in the spirit of showing the big tent that we are trying to build at the Canada Strong and Free Network, we actually have a special presentation for you before we bring on Canada's 22nd Prime Minister, Stephen Harper. And that special presentation is going to be from one of our board members of the Canada Strong and Free Network, who is also the Associate Director of Education Policy at the Fraser Institute, Paige McPherson. Welcome, Paige.
Okay, hello. Oh, I should have worn heels. Okay. Okay, so tonight, as mentioned, we are all here to hear from a couple of established conservative statesmen, and I'm sure that they can share very valuable lessons for us, share their experiences from the past, and I'm sure that we will all learn a lot from that, and that's amazing. But what matters the most to me within the movement is really the future. And I think that some of you might share that here in this room tonight. I have worked in several organizations within our little movement of ideas in our big tent, and I know many other organizations, most of which are here tonight. And one of the most critical things and one of the most challenging things that we do year after year is to find good young leaders to join the ranks of our organizations and to move up within them. This is a challenge, I'm sure, for every organization of every stripe across the board. And that's why I want to share with you something very special at the Canada Strong and Free Network that we do, and that is the Conservative Values Tomorrow program, which was launched in the summer of 2022. And we have some students, some youth leaders to bring up on stage. I'd like to welcome them up on stage so we can celebrate them here tonight before we get our event kicked off. So as I mentioned, the Conservative Values Tomorrow program was launched in the summer of 2022 with the goal of providing mentorship and skills development opportunities to the next generation of conservative movement leaders. So 15 youth leaders were chosen from across Canada. They are students and recent graduates who have lived or worked in British Columbia, Alberta, Ontario, and Quebec. And their wide range of individual interests include mental health policy, social media advocacy, constitutional history, foreign policy, journalism, public health, banking, and a whole lot more. So while you are here at this conference, we encourage you to get to know this group of young leaders. You will see some of them on stage over the next 2 days, see all of them on stage over the next 2 days. You can visit them tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. at the Conservative Values Tomorrow Hospitality Suite. They will be hosting here at the Westin. And remember that as we grow the movement, they will be growing the movement as well, and they could be hiring you in a few years. So I strongly encourage you to get to know these folks. We are happy to present each of these youth leaders with a certificate acknowledging their completion of the Conservative Values Tomorrow program. So I'm going to read off their names, and we're going to give them these certificates. But yeah, let's give one big round of applause for them to kick it all off. Okay, first we have Jonathan Bradley. Let's keep it going. Takdir Brower. Ellie Canton-Nantel. Jonah Davids. Liam Dunn. Emma Haynes. Noah Jarvis. Gordon Lee. Sirajreet Singh. Bryn Toscano Teixeira. And Sally Zhu. So great, you'll be wanting to get their business cards soon. And now, so you don't have to hear any more from me, I'm going to welcome up a couple familiar faces to the stage. Wade Keller, who is Corporate Affairs for Labatt Breweries of Canada. Also, they are sponsoring the reception at 7 p.m. if you want to check that out. He's from my neck of the woods in Halifax. And Rachel Curran from Meta Canada, for any tech fogies like me, formerly called Facebook. So let's welcome Wade and Rachel up to the stage. Thank you guys so much.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be back here again at the annual Ottawa Conference. Labatt is proud to continue our sponsorship again this year. Personally, there's nothing I enjoy more than having a beer and conversation with friends, and I know there will be a few of you doing that over the next couple of days as well. We're looking forward to hearing from many of the panelists on the agenda over the next 2 days, but perhaps none more than our guest tonight. I am honored to be here with Rachel to interview and introduce former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Rachel.
Thank you, Wade. It's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker tonight, a man who is responsible for the presence of many of us here, including me, perhaps most of us. The conference we're attending, which I should say is proudly sponsored by Meta Platforms, is at its core a networking event. It brings together conservatives from across the country to compare and discuss ideas, experiences, and future plans. Look, there's a reason we're all here today and over the next few days. We have the goal of helping Canada maximize its potential and making our country a better place to live, work, and raise a family. There's no one who's done more in the last 2 decades to build and strengthen that national network than our guest tonight. So it is my privilege, it's my honor to introduce Canada's 22nd Prime Minister, currently Chairman and CEO of Harper & Associates Consulting, a global strategic advisory firm, and also Chairman of Vision One, a Miami-based investment fund, Mr. Stephen Harper.